Okay, I wanted to have a quick look at the playground to just show people the way around here. So let's start with just the playground proper. So I've gone to platform.openai.com and then it basically pulls up the first page. We have playground, dashboard, docs, API reference. So we're just going to do a chat. You have a whole bunch of different chats that you can use here. We have access to the O1 Mini preview, GPT-4o, Omni, Turbo, go back, and then I have some fine-tuned stuff, which I'll talk about in a second. So what do we have? So there's three types of messages that you have with ChatGPT. You have system messages, which is answer like a fifth grader, that kind of thing. That's our fifth grader. Okay, answer questions like a fifth grader. Or you could do professor or, whatever. And then, so that's our system instructions. We have our user messages, which is, so why is the sky blue? And then we run them, we get our third set of messages, which is our assistant messages, which is the response that we're getting back from the model. We have real time, so we can talk to it. So we don't just have to type anymore. Now we can start a session and we can start talking to it.
Salut, comment puis-je vous aider aujourd'hui?
Okay, I was playing around with some French stuff before, so I'm guessing that's what's going on here. We have assistants. So assistants are, you can name your assistant, data scientist. I have bunches of data in there that I have before. You give it system instructions, you ask it a question. What's in our file? Let's have a look at our file. Can I see the file? I can't. This comes from a book, but basically what it is, it's financial data for a year. So it's popped me off the other side. So let's go back in here again. So we have assistants. Assistants are basically we have system instructions. We have on the left-hand side. We can upload files. We can turn the code interpreter on. We can set some of the things that we want to do, like the temperature and the top P, the top percentage. That's what that means. So, and then whatever versions of the assistant, we can switch to latest. So there's V1, which is going to be deprecated really quick. And then I think it's going to be the end of the month. We have, this is the V2, and the model's very different. We can enter a message. We can add a little message here if we want to add run instructions. The user like cats, require a tool call. We can use functions too as well, something else I'll talk about later. And then when we run this, basically we get a bunch of threads, and it's kind of annoying because you've got to see all the different threads and you're looking to see the one that's completed to see if you can find what the answer is. So it's we'll look at that later. We'll do a whole thing on assistance. Has it finished? Yeah, we're looking for the first completed, and then we go content, and then if we get an answer, the answer is going to be here. So there we go. Sales in the past year were 21.16 million. Usually if I use assistant, I always use an API because this trawling through the threads, easy to say, is a nightmare. So I just use a Python code to do that. We have text to speech. Oops.
Mary had a little lamb.
Okay, all cool. So, and then we have completions, which are the legacy versions. So I'm not going to worry about that anymore. What else do we have? So on this side, we can add a function. So that can be an external API. It could be calling the weather. Could be adding a mathematical function. Could be anything you want. Response can be text or JSON. Temperature. So if you make the temperature lower, it's going to be deterministic. If you make it higher, it's going to be different. You're going to get a different answer each time. Maximum tokens are the number of tokens you want between the prompt and completion. Um, Never use stop sequences. I'll have to return to that. Top P, so uh, 0.5 means half of all the likelihood weighted options are considered. So basically, what happens is every time that you type a word or a sentence, it's guessing the next word. So basically, what it's telling you is it will only give you the ones that are 50% or higher, because this is a neural network and it's saying that 50% of all the 50% of the words that have the probability of being the next word, which are over 50% probability, are going to be used. And then you have frequency penalty, which means don't use the same words twice or don't use the same terms twice, so you don't repeat yourself. And then presence penalty, that means even if it only appears once, you give it a penalty. So you're increasing the likelihood to talk about new topics. Okay. Other cool things, so you can save it, you can share it, you can view your history. So history again. Let's look at this one because I want to type it in again because I want to show you how to do this. Because if you do view code, oh cool, now we got all this code. So basically I can take this code, connect it to an API key, and then I can run this locally. So let's do that. Let's copy this code. Let's go to our dashboard, and I want to go straight here to get an API key. I am going to create a new API key. I am going to call it YouTube for obvious reasons. I'm going to copy it, and then I am going to basically open VS Studio. So all I've done, sorry, I should have been showing you. All I've done here is I've just created a new directory, cd into it, code dot, make sure you have VS Studio installed. While you're not looking, I'm going to create my config.py file and put my OpenAI key in there so you can't see it. Okay. It's a weird looking key. All right. So let me show you what my VS Studio looks like now. So I have this, and I'm going to have a app.py. And then if I go back to, you can call it whatever you like. If you want to call it run.py, if I go back to my playground, and let's go to history again. And I want to view my code because I didn't copy it. I forgot to. And then I'm going to go to my VS Code here. I want to do print response. It's already given me a response, so maybe what I want to do is just delete what this is. So give it a chance to give me a response. Then I have to connect my OpenAI API key. So I do import configs, that's the library I'm going to use, and I say API underscore key equals, got GitHub Copilot, so it's guessing stuff here. OpenAI. Okay, let's see if I can run that. Sure, it's going to fail because I have a feeling something's going on with my API key. I guess it did not. Okay, so this is my first call. So I have the sky looks blue because something called the Rayleigh scattering. When sunlight reaches the earth, bumps into gases, tiny particles in the atmosphere, yada yada. Okay, got that. Okay, so that's how you would call the code from here. What else do we have? I always think it's important to look around and see what's going on. So we have assistance again. We've batches. So if you have lots of different things that you want to do, you want to do them overnight. You got hundreds and hundreds of calls. You put them in batches. Evaluations, that's come up fairly recently. So if you want to see where your responses are, so basically do an eval on GPT 4.0 to see if it's better or worse than what you expect it to be when you give it questions and answers. I haven't played with that yet, I will do. Fine tuning is you upload a bunch of questions and answers in a JSON format. You convert them to a JSON-L format, which is a line format. And then that's what we use for chatbots, which is great. Storage, that's where everything's stored now, including our JSON-L files, API keys. We talked about that. And then let's look at the docs real quick because I think it's cool to see all the stuff that's out there. So what are the capabilities? So we have text generation. So that's what we just looked at when we asked what the sky was blue. Image generation, so that's DALL-E. So that's basically creating images for us. Vision is different than DALL-E, which can be confusing. So we copy this, put it in my folder here. Again, I want to do import config. Now it is going to look at this image, which is kind of a boardwalk in a meadow. And it's going to tell us what's in there. Okay, that's the image we're looking at. So if I do Python app, whoops. So the image depicts a serene landscape featuring a wooden boardwalk winding through lush green grass. Great. That's exactly what it is. That's what Vision does. It will allow us to, spot the difference between two pictures, all that sort of stuff. Vector embeddings. Embeddings we're going to use those later to do things like movie recommendations, retrieval augmented generation, text to speech. So we give it text, and like Mary Had a Little Lamb, and it will turn it into speech. Speech to text is the opposite. So it's going to take whatever we say in our WAV file or MP3 file and convert it to text. Really good for YouTube files. Moderation is, for lots of different things. You can see all the different things. So if it's sexual, if it's hate speech, if it's self-harm, if it's violence, the moderation API will do that. And we can call it similarly to what we had before. So if you look at our calls, you'll see there's a theme going on. So we have chat.completions.create. And app one, we have client.chat.completions.create again. But I guess it's calling the chat for that, but we're just passing an image URL. But if we look at the moderations, it's client.moderations, and then for image generation, it is client.image.generate. Okay, and then reasoning. So reasoning is the new ones. That's the new models that came out. The O1 or the Omni one. So doing lots of different stuff with that. Okay, and then what else do we have? We have the API references, lots of information on that. How to call all the different APIs. Looks like my network's going slow. Okay, how do you get started? Pip install OpenAI. I've already done that. Pip install config for the config stuff that I showed you. We have a cookbook, which has, last one was in August 6th, introduction to structured outputs, the new models, batch processing. There's also a huge list of them here and it shows you which things: completions, reasoning, actions library, embeddings, vision. So lots of talk about RAG. And then I really like the forum too as well. So ask people about all the different things based on what you're interested in. So if you're interested in the API, you can ask questions in there, search previous things to see how it goes on. So back to where we started in the chat. And that, for the moment, is our first introduction to the playground in ChatGPT and calling an API from Python.